Welcome to Math, where problems are no problem. You're taking the ASVAB, and a question drops a rectangular dog pen problem on you. The area is 40 square feet, and the length is 3 feet longer than the width. Find the width. That's a quadratic equation hiding in a word problem, and factoring is the tool that cracks it open. Think of factoring as unmultiplying, like knowing the answer to a multiplication problem and working backward to find the two numbers that made it. First, let's get our vocabulary straight, because the ASVAB loves testing whether you know these words, not just whether you can crunch numbers. A quadratic equation is any equation where the variable, usually x, gets squared, meaning multiplied by itself. In our pen problem, if we call the width w, the length is w plus 3, and area equals length times width. So we get w times, open parenthesis, w plus 3, close parenthesis, equals 40. When you multiply that out, you get w squared plus 3w equals 40. To work with it properly, we move everything to one side so it equals 0. W squared plus 3w minus 40 equals 0. This is called standard form. A squared term, a middle term, and a plain number, all set equal to 0. The numbers multiplying each term have a name too, coefficients. Here, the coefficient on w squared is 1, the coefficient on w is 3, and the plain number, sometimes called the constant, is negative 40. Now here's the actual factoring move, and it's simpler than it looks. We need two numbers that multiply together to give us negative 40, the constant, and add together to give us 3, the middle coefficient. Let's test a few pairs. 5 and negative 8. Multiply to negative 40, but add to negative 3. Close, wrong sign. Flip it, negative 5 and 8 multiply to negative 40 and add to positive 3. That's our pair. So we rewrite the equation as two smaller multiplied pieces. Open parenthesis, w minus 5, close parenthesis, times open parenthesis, w plus 8, close parenthesis, equals 0. This is the moment factoring pays off, and it leans on one clean idea called the zero product property. If two things multiplied together equal 0, at least one of them has to actually be 0. There's no other way to multiply two numbers and land on 0. So we split our one hard equation into two easy ones, either w minus 5 equals 0, giving w equals 5, or w plus 8 equals 0, giving w equals negative 8. Two candidate answers, but only one of them can be a real width. A dog pen can't have a negative width unless your dog lives in an alternate dimension. So we throw out negative 8 and keep 5. That means the width is 5 feet, and since the length is 3 feet more, the length is 8 feet. Let's check that this actually solves our original problem. 5 times 8 is 40. That matches the area we were told. And 8 minus 5 is 3. That matches 3 feet longer. Both original conditions hold, so the answer checks out. Here's a common mistake worth naming. People factor correctly, get two solutions, and then just report both without checking whether the situation allows a negative number. On the ASVAB and in real life, always ask what the variable represents before you pick your final answer. A negative width, a negative number of people, or a negative amount of money is usually a sign to discard that route, not report it. You'll see this exact pattern constantly on the test. A squared term buried in a word problem about area, speed, or money, and factoring is what turns it into something you can actually solve by hand instead of guessing. So here's the one thing to remember. Factoring takes one intimidating quadratic equation and splits it into two ordinary equations you already know how to solve, using the fact that if two multiplied things equal 0, one of them must be 0. Once you can spot the two numbers that multiply to the constant and add to the middle coefficient, quadratics stop being scary and start being arithmetic. If this helped, the next video covers the quadratic formula for when factoring doesn't work out neatly. And if this channel is helping you study, subscribing helps more people find it too.